Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Driving with Miranda. I have waited way too long to drive this little gem of a car. This is the Mini Cooper SE. It is fully electric. There is absolutely no gas power to it. Look at this cute little face. Let's go for a drive. Welcome to the inside of the Mini Cooper. As you can see, I have a GT racer behind me. My son is starting his spring break this week, so I decided to surprise him, and I'm going to pick him up from school and let him know that we're going to go to the hill to do some sledding. So yes, a Mini Cooper two-door can fit a GT racer in the back, and my son's going to be behind the passenger seat, and the trunk still has space for all of his bags and all of his school stuff and whatever else I need to fit back there. So it can be a viable family car. Now, I'm at a charge station right now. I'm sitting here while the car gets a bit of a kick. So I had about 104 kilometer range left on the battery. I just plugged it into a flow station. It told me I was about at 75%. It is close to 1:40 p.m. and it told me that by 4 p.m. I would have a full charge. It's kind of a long time to sit at a charge station, not gonna lie. And I'm pretty sure it has to do with the same reasons that the X5 charged very slowly. So the amperage on this is relatively low. I didn't play with the settings. I didn't change anything. I just plugged it in as it was. I'm sure I could change it up, which I will look at again, and I will talk to you on the drive. But for now, I just wanted to talk about the interior of this thing, because honestly, I love it. I mean, I've always loved minis, and for anybody that knows me and anybody that follows me, I'm hard pressed to find anything wrong with the minis of the world. I didn't necessarily love the Countryman that's growing on me, but the Cooper, the two-door or three-door actually it's called because of the hatch, you know, it's always had a soft spot in my heart, and I love the interior design. I like that it's playful. I like that it's artistic. You know, the E has this stellar, vibrant neon green, almost the same color as the GT Racer, a little bit more yellow on the mirrors and along the front grille. I'll get to that when I talk about the exterior, but that color gets translated into the interior as well. So I've got it a bit on the dash. My start-stop button isn't red like a Mini Cooper, a regular gas-powered one. It's that bright yellow-green color. So it really has that electrified feeling, which it should, because it's an electric car. You know, this is the full EV. Again, I'll get to that when I drive. There is no gas backup. There is no generator. There's nothing. If you don't charge your battery, you're not going anywhere. And other than that, it is a regular Mini. Now, I know you've all watched my e-Golf review. So one of the reasons that I suggested the e-Golf for my boyfriend to buy was because of how similar it was to a regular Golf. So the same thing applies here. You can get into the Mini SE and there's nothing different. Really, the only thing that's different is how you can change your regenerative braking, which again, I will get to when we're driving. Other than that, and the gauge cluster, you don't have, obviously, your gas tank filler. It's a charge, where you're charging versus when you have power on, how much percentage of battery is left. But that's it. Otherwise, it's a Mini. You get the same knob down here for your entertainment. You get the same big screen in the middle. Your speedometer is here in front. I love this digital gauge. I think it's really well designed. It's really well placed. It's nice to look at. The car sounds like a spaceship when it turns on. I mean, that's super cool. How many people could say that? And then when you turn it off, it does the same thing, like this really futuristic sound. I thought I'd get annoyed with it, but truthfully, every time I turn the car on, I smile a little, and that's what Mini ownership is all about. You see your car, you get a little bit of a grin, you get excited to drive it, you get inside, the same thing, you're like, oh, I'm home, this is nice, I fit here, and I feel that way about this. You know, I saw this Mini SE for the first time at the LA Auto Show, probably, I want to say like 4 years ago, like when it was first launched. It took a while for it to get here. They did a lot of testing in California. I think Mini employees had them and owned them for a good amount of time to make sure that it was viable for them. They weren't just going to release any EV on the market. And then now it's finally come here. So when I found out that it was on the press fleet, I was like, oh my God, I've waited literally years to drive this thing and to see what it's like. And I have to say, I'm not disappointed. And it's an odd thing to say because this doesn't have the largest range. It's not viable for a lot of people. You know, I picked this up with a full charge on Tuesday, and it only had 134 kilometers. That's not even a full tank of gas for your standard eco box. Like the Micra has a bigger range than that, a Versa, a Civic. The e-Golf gets better range than that right now. But I think that's also based on how it was driven before. So I'm trying to up the range right now. Like even when it said I would be fully charged, it had me at 150 kilometers for a full tank, not 134. It's also dependent on temperature, how much heating you're putting on. Are you defrosting it when you get in? How are you driving? I have a sport mode. I have a green mode. Again, I will get to that when I'm driving. But I still love the idea of this thing as a second car. So in my ideal, fantastic Miranda world, I would likely have a Cooper SE for tootling around town and not spending any money on gas. I would have an F-Type for the weekends, and then I would have a Defender for everyday life. I mean, that's not really too much to ask, is it? Anybody who wants to supply these things for me, I can let you know where you can drop them off. Anyways, back to the interior on this car. Not the largest amount of space, but like I said, as you can see, GT Racer back there, full size. I fit on that thing. Kid's gonna be back there soon. Plus I still have the trunk, not the largest trunk, and it's a 2-door, so you are moving the seats forward to get in. But honestly, for me, for my lifestyle, for my one kid, no dogs, we don't canoe, we don't kayak, we don't tow anything, I don't live on a farm, it's perfect. I live in the city, super easy to park, all the cameras available, all the sensors, all the beeps and boops, even though you wouldn't really need them because it's such a teeny tiny little car. No, it's great. I absolutely adore the interior of this, and I love the touches of the bright green, just to remind you in case you forget that you're driving the electric version of the Mini, but otherwise it just feels like home. Go. So here I am in the 2021 Mini Cooper SE. So this is a fully electric Mini Cooper. Now, as you can see from here and the steering wheel and everything, this looks exactly like a regular Mini, as it should. That was the car simply telling me that I have to be careful that the temperature is only +3 degrees outside and it might be a little bit icy and snowy. As you can see, the streets are nice and clear. Perfect conditions for this car. Not that I haven't driven in the snow, but of course, dry streets are always preferred for EVs. All right, let's get down to some numbers, shall we? So this does not have the largest range of EVs out there. So on a max charge, best case scenario from the factory, Mini says that this can get about 110 miles of range, which works out between 180, 200 on a good day. So actually less than a Volkswagen e-Golf, which is not great for it. I picked this up with a full charge and I had 134 clicks. I've been able to get it up as high as 149. That's simply using a wall socket. And listen, this can't be your full-time everyday car. Like it can't. This needs to be a second vehicle, or you need to live within 40 to 50 kilometers of everything that you do. Work, social life, even though none of us have a social life right now, you need to be close to everything. However, as a second car to use during the week, short little trips to save yourself on gas from your second gas vehicle, I really like the idea of this car. And truthfully, this does so much better as a Mini than it does an EV. Now, I'll explain that sentence a little bit. This is the perfect Mini in that it drives like a Mini, it feels like a Mini, it handles like a Mini, it's dynamic, it's go-karty, there's no weight difference, it's not being thrown off, but the fact that it has a heavy battery, it feels exactly like you would think a Cooper would feel. The transmission, it's got an electric and e-drive transmission, so there's no gears. You can do 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. It has the equivalent of like 135 horsepower and about 184 pound-foot of torque. Or sorry, that's the electric power. When it comes down to brake horsepower, it's closer to 101 brake horsepower versus 130-ish pound-foot of torque. But more than enough for a vehicle this size. This is the 3-door, so you only have 2 doors and then the hatch in the back. So it is the smallest Cooper that they have, but it feels plenty powerful enough. And because you don't get the gears and because it's electric, it is instant power right away. There's no lag, there's no turbo to spool up, there's no supercharger. It's just power on, power off, which is great when the streets are dry, a little bit trickier when you have slick conditions. Now, another big point for this vehicle is the price. It starts at about $39,900. That's without any options. I have this thing pretty heavily loaded. It's got about $8,000 worth of options on it, which puts its price just below the $50K mark. Now, as a starting price, you qualify for provincial rebates if we have any left. You would have to check with the Quebec government website to see if there are any funds left to give. We all know where the funds are going these days. But at its base price, it does qualify for those. So, but as it is here at $47,000 whatever, not so much. Do I think it's worth that price for this vehicle? I don't. I think that for an EV, like I said, it's a very good Mini. It is not the best EV. There are better EVs on the market with higher range for less money. You don't get the Mini name, you don't get the Mini feel, you don't get the Mini drive, but you get a battery-powered vehicle. So if it's an EV that you're looking for, you might want to look elsewhere. If it's a Mini that you're looking for, and you just don't want to pay for gas and you want that electric car, then I definitely recommend checking it out. However, as a viable EV that's worth the dollars that you would put forth for one, no, unfortunately not. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. I love how it drives. I love how it feels. And it is cool that it sounds like a spaceship when it turns on. Anyone who knows me and has followed me all these years knows that I have an extremely soft spot for the Mini Cooper, and I always have. Maybe it's my British mother, maybe it's just that I like really cute character-filled vehicles, but from the very beginning, the Mini has held a piece of my heart. And to tell the truth, over the years, I have loved the subtle changes that they've made. Obviously, it has a heritage look that it needs to maintain, kind of like a Beetle, kind of like a Porsche. They can only go so far with the look of the car, but you know what? Over the years, they've managed to modernize it, to make it look a little bit more sophisticated. They've also made it a bit larger, but let's not talk about that. All in all, the Mini Cooper has always had that fun, funky front end that's so full of personality. And in this particular version, while it might not have a grille, it's not open in the front, obviously it's closed off for fuel efficiency, for aerodynamicy, but that really bright green stripe across the front that matches those bright green mirror caps, I absolutely adore. It gives it that little bit of spunk, that little bit of flair, that little bit of something different that makes you realize that, hang on a second, this isn't just a regular Cooper. And then of course you have the bright, vibrant green S on the back as well. Now, of course, these are winter wheels, so they're not the prettiest, but they're also built for aerodynamicy, which is why they have such thick wings on them. But I mean, otherwise it's a Mini. You're looking at a regular Mini Cooper, and I think that's really important. Just like I spoke about with the interior, here's a vehicle that doesn't have a learning curve, even when it comes to aesthetics. You're looking at a Mini Cooper. You're not looking at a spaceship. It doesn't have wheel covers. It doesn't have, a super weird back end for airflow. It doesn't have a different looking front. It's a Cooper. And just like you look at the Golf, the e-Golf, they're the same, and it has that family resemblance. So you're not so far removed from the pack that you have to learn to love the look of your car. If you buy a Mini Cooper SE, you are buying a Mini Cooper essentially. And I absolutely adore the way this thing looks. Yeah, it's small. It only has 2 doors. It's not the easiest to get in and out of. But if you have that lifestyle and you have the right family, or just you and a partner, then this vehicle is absolutely perfect. And yeah, it's just the cutest, and I love seeing them on the road, and I loved walking up to this thing when I had to take it for a drive. Definitely made me smile, and that's what it means to own a Mini. Well, guys, that's been it for me this week and the 2021 Mini Cooper SE. I know I've loved my week with it. It might not be the perfect EV, but it is most definitely a fun Mini. As always, if you guys have any questions or comments, you can hit me up at Miss Miranda L on Instagram or Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at Miranda Lightstone, or you can drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Hope to see you guys back next week. Thanks so much.